ladies and gentlemen, Bill Correll here, and we are once again lighting the candle and stepping off into a world that works. We get together on a weekly basis to record half-hour spots for your listening pleasure and also for your empowerment. And each time we speak, we have some really great conversations. They're completely organic. We have no script. We have no idea where we're going to go here. And my friends who are on the call always are just really great players. So today we're going to pass it around and let all of our panelists identify themselves and tell you who they are. And while we're doing that, just had an idea of taking a comparative look as kind of a metaphor for what we see in the news being like weather reports, for example. And just to kick it off, I can tell you that weather reporting is one of those things where it's usually about 7 or 8% accurate. I couldn't keep my job in my industry being right 7 or 8% of the time, and I just toss that out there as a charged opening salvo. Ken?
Hi, I'm Ken Caputo, founder of Quester's Way, and today I am simply happy to be here.
You are. And you were saying about weather. I'm kind of interested in that thought, what you shared with John and how that gets handled.
Yeah, so this is just something that came from my mentor, and one of the things that he says is he looks at things that happen in our lives as weather systems that come and go. And there are times where you've got beautiful, clear skies, and other times the storms come in. And it's just recognizing the weather happens, and you can either, complain about it and fight about it, or, get upset about how unpredictable it is, or you can learn to navigate it. And one of the things that he said, I had said something about finding like the eye of the storm and the peace within that. And he said, you'd be better served to be at peace in the storm, period. Like you don't need to get anywhere. You just learn to be okay with the fact that this is what your life is in this moment, and it will pass. Maybe you got some cleanup afterwards, the trees fall, whatever happens, power's out. But eventually, you'll find whatever is going to be on the other side. And, so I've always liked that metaphor. I found it very helpful.
Awesome thoughts. Absolutely. And anytime we can talk about John, the two of us have a real warm feeling in our heart. No doubt about it.
Yep.
Lisa? Good morning, my friend.
Good morning. Lisa Sheehan. Currently, my part-time gig is being co-publisher of Epic magazine, empowering people, inspiring community. And we're just about to deliver our November-December issue. It should be pulling in. So if you hear a big truck pulling in, that'll be my cue to leave.
Excellent.
And yeah, that's it.
Any thoughts on the weather?
Oh gosh. Well, yeah, we all brought it up this morning, didn't we? The weather. Well, we actually in our spiritual center, we usually often study a book called The Eye of the Storm, the capital I, which is which is about centering during all the different aspects of your life. So it's the same thing, like Ken was saying. And I order weather for people. So if they want good weather, and then I take all the accolades for it afterwards. But I also like to look at things like how the weather appears differently to everybody. Like during a drought, the rain would look great to a farmer, but horrible to a bride. So it's the same. Yeah. It's happening. It's just a different perspective. So that's my little insight on the weather.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Vanessa, you're next. How are you?
All right. Yeah, well, like Ken said, I'm happy to be here as well. I'm a writer and a copywriter and a writer and an overall curious person who likes to have captivating conversations with intriguing people and hopefully uncover a bit of truth along the way. So happy to be here today, and my thoughts on the weather. I I like what's been said so far. I like what Ken's mentor has said about, you know, and I like to think of the seasons as like the seasons of our lives, or we can look at them like that. You know, whenever there's a transition, there's a messy spot in the middle, like before the springtime comes, we have the leftover snow, and it's not even pretty and beautiful white anymore. It's usually muddy, and, you know, it's been plowed over, and it's just this slush. And then maybe some rain will come and slush it up some more and muddy it up some more. And it's kind of and the sky is very gray, and it's a very dull time. And I just think of that as like, you know, a transition time in our life. It's a messy part before things get glorious and wonderful again and beautiful. And springtime comes out with these, you know, God creates these amazing colors and flowers and green grass again, and everything's new again.
Mm-hmm.
And so just thinking, and I like what you guys are saying about, you know, just like we have to learn to deal with the storm. I like the idea of preparation. It's good to, you know, at least we can't always see what's coming. I mean, I think, Bill, you were saying the weathermen are 80% accurate, something like that.
I think they're close to about 6 or 7% accurate in terms of a dead-on forecast. But however, your mileage may vary depending on where you are. Here in New England, they never know what they're going to get.
That's true, yeah. But just the idea of there's a great song by a band named Casting Crowns called "Praise You in the Storm," and one of the lines is, see if I can remember it. I'll praise you in the storm, and I will lift my hands for who you are, meaning who God is, who you are, for you are who you are, no matter where I am. So just trusting that, you know, the seasons have a purpose for our earth, and our seasons of life all have a purpose as well. We just have to keep our chin up, you know, and just get through them the best we can.
Yeah, it's really good stuff. Really good stuff. Shelley, hi there.
Morning, hi. Wonderful to be here, and this is the bright, sunny spot for my day through all the raindrops. So Shelley Kohler, and I am a business advisor, coach for young people and for businesses, anybody who wants to start a business, has a business, and as well just friends who have questions. Weather, that is very apropos, because weather is one of these ebbs and flows and never stays the same. And I think as, you know, I go through life, there are certain things that I want to stay the same. And we have an expectation, and we try to make things stay the same, and because it works for us in that one little space. And then we get upset when 2 feet of snow comes, and, you know, so, you know, all in what Vanessa, Lisa, and Ken were saying, it's really about embracing and accepting what is coming our way and not fight it to a point of where it brings negativity or it brings stress. And the eye of the storm is calm and it's predictable. You know, being in the storm is a little unknown and you're not quite sure what's going to happen, but yet being with the storm also gives you a lot of it gives you a lot of information and things to learn and bring to the next storm. And I like how Vanessa kind of really pinpointed on the transitional times between our seasons, because that's when everything happens, right? You know, summer, we know there's going to be flowers, but that transitional between spring and summer, you see so much growing and happening. And there's silver linings in everything, which is kind of where I'm going with it. It might not be the weather, but it is a storm, and COVID has brought a lot of that, right? So that's just kind of something that's on top of a dreary day. But in conversations that I've had over probably the past 3 weeks, there are so many opportunities and so many silver linings inside of this, some that we may not like, but it's happening. And when you look at it, some of those things probably should have happened, maybe never would have happened had COVID not hit. It's, and I don't even like to call it this, but it's kind of that there is some part of COVID that is a cleansing. And then there's the other, there's those polar ends of everything that's wrong and right, or negative and positive. So inside of every storm, there are opportunities, and we can prepare just enough so that we can get through that storm and learn, and then we continue to prepare. I guess what I really wanted to convey is, the accuracy of weather. It'll never happen. I don't care what kind of technology it'll shift in an instant. And we have to recognize that, as many things that we like to stay the same, we just have to embrace that they might not, and, move forward. And things happen. They do happen for a reason. We just have to find that reason and silver lining, or the lesson.
That's great. I'm totally enrolled. No doubt about it. As you're speaking, all of you, my mind is kind of drifting in and out of experiences going through the dreary transition through spring, where in Connecticut, everything, gets kind of dirty looking and dark, and it all looks lifeless, However, having spent, out of the last 25 years, a whole bunch of years going down to Florida in February, March, and April, after leaving Connecticut looking however it does, I get to experience two springs that way, and there's nothing better than watching things grow and come to life. And the other kind of thought that I'm having is we're talking about the weather being a fitting metaphor, maybe yes, maybe no, for let's just say the whole so-called news industry, right? There's tons of money spent in both places spinning yarns about what may or may not happen, or giving reports about what may or may not have happened. And I really just, when we get into like a severe storm, like a hurricane or something of that nature, and the broadcasters are out standing in the middle of the street while pieces of sheet metal are flying by behind them, and it's kind of an interesting thing. But my two most favorite weather-related quotations, one of them is, everybody talks about the weather, but nobody's doing anything about it. Okay. Which is really kind of a good thing to kind of hang out inside of for a little while we hear things come from Lisa, where people order their weather through her, and she delivers it and takes credit for it when it happens. I like that as well. And the whole concept of being able to disappear a whole sky full of clouds by starting and concentrating on a cloud, and putting all of your attention on that one single cloud until it actually is gone. And I would challenge you, if you think of it, the next time that you're outside and there are a few clouds, stare at one for a little while and see what happens. Intend that it go away and then see what happens. It's kind of a fun thing to do. My other quotation about the weather, it's probably more along the lines of, I've forgotten what it is at the moment. I'm having a problem. All right, I'll let it go away right there. However, what the whole idea of comparing weather, to reports in the news, and there's obviously money to be made by convincing people one thing or another will happen, or that one thing or another has happened. And so I'm kind of interested in how do we clear our own heads and minds, as Ken was saying. There's the Lieutenant Dan way of going through a hurricane storm. with your fist wagging in the air saying, is that the best you've got? Hit me with your best shot, all that kind of stuff. And then the other part of it is that the people who, out west, it was not uncommon during a tornado warning for us to go out and go into a storm shelter that was dug out of the backyard and had a door on it. And that door was so flimsy, if a tornado ever went over the top of us, that would have given us very little shelter. But again, it was a duck and cover. Here's what you do if this is coming for you. So I'm more interested now in, once the weather has been predicted, how do people align their activities with the forecast? How do they prepare? What do they do? And if you can bounce back and forth, if it works for you, between news reporting and weather reporting and experience, that's fine. And if you want to talk about something completely different, that's okay too. Because I'm just sitting here, it's a little dark and dreary outside today, so we just need to disappear all of that. There's supposed to be snow coming tomorrow too. So Lisa, I would like to put in an order, for some clear weather. I'm going to Banana Brazil Grill for lunch at 11:30, and it's supposed to be snowing during that time. Can you help me?
I'll think about. No, I will. I'll have to look at my crystal ball for a minute and see if it's possible in that area.
Yeah. So, any further thoughts on this, or have we kind of squeezed the juice out of it?
I have a couple thoughts.
Okay, Ken.
Well, it's just interesting. I did a workshop not too long ago with a guy named Grant Cardone. He's a big business guy. He wrote a book called The 10X Rule. Yep. And one of the things that he said, he's a sales guy, and he said, money follows attention. And it always sticks with me. And I think about, why are the weather people pretending that the weather is so disastrous? Because that's what we'll watch. And if they don't do that, we change the channel. So they have to get more and more extreme to capture our attention, because we've told them that's what they need to do to capture our attention. So the focus becomes on, we don't want a range of saying there's a potential of a storm, it may hit, it may miss. We want an answer. So we're going to tune in to the weather reporter that tells us what we want to hear, not the one that asks us to consider that there's multiple outcomes and this is unpredictable. So, and it's like we've had that in business, whenever a weather system comes through in the business, it's really easy to get caught up in the reporting of what's happening. And the question that we'll try to remember to ask each other to jar out of the pattern is, what is the result we're trying to produce? And that reframes it. So, when a hurricane's coming, what is the result you're trying to produce? Mitigate damage and make sure nobody dies, right? That's really the result, but the reporting isn't interesting around that. The reporting that everybody wants to listen to is how bad it can be. And then if it isn't bad, everybody wants to complain about how they were told a lie. If it is bad, they want to complain about how people didn't respond well enough, and around and around you go, right? So we're getting what we paid for. And they're going to keep giving it to us because we keep paying them for it. So
I'd like to jump in on that, because there is spot on, whoever that friend of yours was. And some of you may have already seen it, Social Dilemma. It is a documentary on Netflix, yes, which answers exactly what you were talking about, Ken. And we are the commodity. The human, we are the commodity. It's not about the sneakers. It's not about whatever it is we're purchasing. It's about us and the attention that we give to particular weather stations, to whoever's going to give us that answer, to whoever's going to give us what we're looking for. And it has gotten to that point where it's not about accuracy anymore. It's about the attention, just as Ken was saying. If you haven't, and I think Vanessa shared this with us a couple times ago, if you haven't watched it, absolutely put it on your list, because it is eye-opening, and you really get a big picture of how and why they're doing it. And it's It is all about monetary. It's all, and we're so far in that they can't even get out. Almost for slightly lack of a better word, really putting thoughts and brainwashing our younger kids to a point of controlling their thoughts. That's how it has gone. So being able to, find the attention or have them give us the response that we want. And Ken's right, we'll search for it. We have the technology to search for it. We don't have to just rely on that one channel.
Yeah.
So I just love this discussion. I welcome everything that everyone's saying. Such a good point. And Shelley, I appreciate that you said that I might have been the one that mentioned the social dilemma, but I'll give credit where credit's due. That I think that was Bill that actually mentioned it. He asked if a couple of us had seen it. I had never actually seen the movie, but and this is maybe up for another discussion. As a matter of fact, I went back and listened to our recording. I think it's from last week, and that movie was mentioned. And Bill even said, "Hey, if you even have a chance, try to see it this week." Well, I didn't get a chance to see it, but instead, what I did yesterday was I looked up some reviews about the movie, and going along perfectly with what you said, I actually found a counterpoint to why this movie even came out and what it came out on, which was Netflix. And I'm trying to tie this into everything we were just talking about, Bill, with you mentioning how news correlates with the weather and how the reporting of that weather correlates with our human psychology and what they intend for us to do. And Ken said something about follow the money. And so I agree with all of that. And so, again, hopefully maybe we can have another discussion. I'm putting a request in for it now. Once I finally watch the movie, so I can catch up with all of you who've seen it. Very popular movie, had a lot of great reviews about it. But also, why did that movie come out? Was it a matter of fear mongering? Did it just simply want to brand Netflix as a, mind you, the movie came out, it was marketed as a documentary. We go crazy over documentaries. We want to see documentaries because we want to know the truth. But what happens is there's always several angles that can be presented. So this is the one angle that they're presenting it as, and then they'll give you a little bit of the other angle, but it's the angle that they want you to walk away with, which is, there were a lot of sensational images, like, a gentleman being, us being like puppets. So I don't want to go, which then got into our head and made us fear what's being shared on social media. And anyway, I'm getting off subject now, and that was not my intention.
So I would ask you, why aren't you asking people to be afraid of what's going on social media? I'd like to just, if I may, expand on what both you and Shelley are talking about here, if that's okay, Vanessa. And
I didn't want to shift the subject because this episode we were talking about, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I certainly, want to talk about it another time. Yeah. So would you mind if I just finish up what I want to say about the
absolutely
subject? Okay. So with regards to what Ken was saying about what happens when we're given all this news about, oh my goodness, the hurricane's coming, board up, the winds are going to be really strong. And then I remember this happened a number of years ago. There was the hurricane ended up pretty much blowing over us. And then you see all these memes come out where people are being smart Alex. And there's, you'll see a picture of like some lawn chairs that are blown over. And then they all say, we will rebuild. Right. And just making fun of the fact that, well, the weather was misreported. This storm, thank goodness, was not as bad as they said it would be. And so then the news was mocked in that case. And then the other point I wanted to bring up was, the comment about, following the money. you know, I mean, what's the quickest way to sell toilet paper? I'm a marketer, so, you know, is talk about, you know, the scarcity of the toilet paper. What happened during COVID, during that storm? You know, toilet paper was flying off the shelves, and all of a sudden people had basements full of more Cottonelle than you've ever seen one of those bears in the cartoon for the commercial for Cottonelle stuffed his pants with. And you know, bread and milk flies off the shelves when the weathermen are reporting a really bad storm. Yes, I mean, again, it's all about, and I think this ties into what I was saying about the documentary, and I hope I'm not losing anyone here. I know I'm kind of going all over the place, but I want to just drive home the point that media can control our behavior. And the more it observes how our behavior is made due to how a media is presented, that's tracked and that's taken note of. And again, like market research, right? And then it's whatever works is what's going to be used more.
Can I just say something that's kind of, I totally agree with you, Vanessa, and it's so fascinating looking at it through the business lens of the decisions you have to make in order to make money. And also, so I had a beautiful business. We literally paid off school lunch debt for kids all over the area, donated thousands of hours for field trips, sponsored little league teams. It was an incredible place. And in the end, we shut it down because it didn't make enough money. And there are many opportunities for us to do things. I was faced constantly with almost ethical decisions as to how I'd market, how I'd promote, how I'd get people to come and, support the business. And in the end, I did the best I could. We all did, to be fair and ethical and affordable. And it forced us to shut the business down. In the end, and that's what a lot of these companies are doing. Now, obviously there's a disproportionate amount of profit that, most companies, especially bigger companies, will start playing with. But again, if they're public, they have shareholders, and those shareholders want money. And if they think they're not going to get it, they sell the stock, and now the company's in trouble that way. It's like this vicious cycle, and you're not very well rewarded for trying to do the right thing. So the weather reporter that's like, you know what, we're going to focus on helping, people understand how the scientists prepared for this scenario. And we're going to interview them, and we're going to talk to families who are afraid, and we're going to talk to families who are confident that they'll weather it. And we're going to make this about the humans, not about the storm. I guarantee that their ratings would go down, and they'd lose money, and they'd have to either pivot or go out of business. So, so the question I keep asking myself is, how do we learn to go through a daily attention audit and recognize what we're paying attention to and the second and third order consequences of that, and get better at overcoming those innate dopamine hits and all the other things that are part of our wiring? It's just evolution. And, I see the clickbait and I feel the urge to click on it, and I'm conscious of that urge, and I don't click on it. Because the more people that don't click on it, the faster it's not going to exist anymore. Manipulative advertising is only around because even if we know it, we're still choosing to engage with it. So, and I don't know how to fix that, but that's the question that keeps hitting my head.
So we're getting to the first half hour, and I am going to suggest this is really, really rich and meaty. It really needs to be examined. And so if we could kind of hold it here for a minute, and we'll have, what do they call those in the serials? A cliffhanger for the next half hour. And we'll all say our goodbyes here very quickly, but we'll pick this conversation up on the other side, okay?
Okay.
Adios, everybody. Come back and see us. All right. Bye for now.
You've been listening to Lighting the Candle, A World That Works, part of the Exvadio Podcast Network. You can hear us at exvadio.com/podcasts, Apple Podcasts app, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and wherever you find podcasts.